Hey folks, this is BestInSlot. I mean, obviously, who else would it be? And today we're going to do the companion video to my concerns video from last week, with the opposite of concerns, Snrecknock. That drug is free, the rest of them are going to cost you. Anyway, last week we covered the 5 biggest concerns I have for Jurassic World Evolution 2, some of which, i.e. the raptor escape mechanisms, got addressed very quickly, coincidentally, but this week it's time to show the love. Let's talk about the 10 different ways the game is a big step forward from its predecessor. First up then is the addition of new biomes to the game. Evolution 1 kept its islands varied by using forced times of day during the campaign and increasingly funky island shapes. But Evolution 2 ditches the island for a campaign spread around the North Americas and the challenge mode spread around the entire blim-blamming world. This globetrotting means more biomes, 4 new ones to be exact, with temperate, desert, alpine and taiga joining the fray, each of them, other than the last 2, if we're honest, looking very distinct from each other. Not only should this keep the campaigns and challenges nicely varied, but I think where this will really be felt is in sandbox mode. When you spend hundreds of hours, and it is hundreds of hours, in the same gamer mode, any variation in environment is quite a big deal and should make for more thematic park builds. We were already forcing like mountain builds and desert builds in Evolution 1, now we don't have to. And you can't talk about the new biomes without talking about the calamities that are going to come along with them. These are the new name for weather disasters like the last game's Twisters. This time around there's also hurricanes, snowstorms, sandstorms, as well as the returning Twisters, each of which is contained to a specific biome type. Though I'm a little hopeful, maybe a little optimistic, for a nonsense sandbox option where you can turn literally all of them on at once. I think that would be very cool. Give us a post-apocalyptic park. Make a comment about climate change, you know? This could be us if you don't recycle your Amazon boxes. Anyway, these probably wouldn't have made the list until that recent feature focus about the Calamities, which showcased just how unique they're all going to be, with snowstorms in particular doing some really exciting things like hiding dinosaurs from your map overview and making your vehicles trudge slowly along the frozen earth. Probably the biggest new feature though for Evolution 2 is the addition of aviaries and lagoons, large modular buildings that can be stocked with a bunch of new aquatic creatures and pterosaurs, as well as building additions like viewing galleries, shark feeders, and even truck tours through the aviary, which is very cool. Cough, where's my submarine tour? Cough. Sorry, something stuck in my throat. It was a submarine. Whilst the lagoons are pretty light on customization compared to the aviaries, both buildings are going to mix up the looks of our parks dramatically, and the dynamic nature of the inhabitants. Again with the aviaries in particular, given that pterosaurs can break out and establish territories around our actual park. These behaviours make them a worthwhile addition to your pack. Rather than the looped and simple creatures I think a lot of us were a little worried is what we'd end up with. Okay, I do have to throw in a boring one here, but only boring on the face of it, like a clown party inside an accountant's office. That is a joke that I wrote down. I thought it was good enough to include, leave me alone. The deeper management aspects of Evolution 2 are going to make a huge difference to how the game plays in the majority of modes, even all of them if you turn them on for sandbox. And there's a couple main ways this has been done. The first is the scientist mechanic, and I'd say this is the best example, requiring you to manage a roster of eclectic, alien-loving, ghost-hunting scientists who all have different skills and costs and unique abilities. They'll tire out, they'll need training, and they'll be required for every blim-blamming job in the entire game. That's right, 2 blim-blams already. It really does add an extra layer of strategy and thought to all of your decisions though, and throw in the new varied types of guests and the increased cost of everything, things that didn't have any cost at all in the last game, like say refueling your vehicles, and suddenly managing your park may actually require some thought and brain power. Or you could just play sandbox. At the halfway point we have a brand new gamer mode, Chaos Theory, a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. Gonna make it through this without quoting Ian Malcolm at all, just Star Wars apparently. Chaos Theory is a new mode that has you tackling alternate scenarios from throughout Jurassic Park world history. There's no better term for it than that. For example, what would have happened if Jurassic Park San Diego had succeeded? Now these don't actually take place at the same time as the films, or at least the Lost World one doesn't, so they're more like an attempt to correct the mistakes of the past rather than chart an alternate future. I've got a little bit of concern about how deep this mode is going to run, but the return of legacy skins like the Lost World Raptors and unique legacy buildings like the Amphitheatre certainly do make it quite exciting. I just pray that these things are usable in sandbox mode. Not sure who I'm going to pray to. Is this when Raptor Jesus makes his comeback finally? Of course, all this malarkey would be pointless if the dinosaurs themselves hadn't sorted themselves out. One of the bigger problems with Evolution was that how the dinosaurs became a little boring to look at if you did it for more than say 5 minutes. They trudged back and forth between water, food and rest, well, like myself really, but without the charm and rugged good looks and delusion. This time around though, the dinosaurs are amped up, showcasing a huge range of ambient behaviours, like the Rexes scratching their jaws across the desert earth, and also better dinosaur interactions, like the Pachycephalosauruses casually headbutting each other as they walk past, or the Rexes tearing meat apart as a team in a cruel homage to Eddie. Dinosaurs have life again, they've got pizzazz. We've always said that Evo's problem isn't the quality of animations necessarily, but the sheer lack of them. And that really does seem to have been addressed in the sequel. With that, back to the more innocuous but deeply important changes. Speed. Power. Power! This is just a reference to one little button really. The speed options added to the bottom of the game screen, allowing you to increase the speed twice and also pause the game, though importantly not in the middle of a calamity. Gotta figure those out in real time. This, as I say, maybe doesn't seem like the biggest change, but it really does make a humongous difference to how the game plays out. It effectively kills all of the downtime the game ever had with its more mobile-esque mechanics, dino digging and DNA extraction in particular. I think these mechanics are okay, really, but anyone who played the first game will be well acquainted with the tedium that came along with trying to get one single dinosaur up to 100% DNA before you released it. Took bloody ages, man. But now you can zip through it, or spend your time observing the more interesting dinosaurs. Either way, the two combine to make that downtime much less of a problem than it was in the past. Back to the dinosaurs now and the revitalized dinosaur combat. This stands separate from the ambient behaviours because it's basically an entirely new system. One-on-one dinosaur fights no longer revolving around. No more Pokemon style battles, instead they're dynamic and action filled and a little bit janky, but that's okay, we'll get there in the end. Coupled with that, we have the new pack hunting mechanics. Now, we haven't seen this in action too much yet, really just that one big clip of gameplay, but it also looks dynamic and exciting, and substantially more interesting than the weird Terminator-esque takedowns we had in the past game, where a single raptor would fling itself at a herbivore 10 times its size and take it down with a single move. That's gone, now the herbs will fight back. Sounds like a cheesy horror film. Night of the Living Coriander. Note, maybe cut out joke for being absolutely atrocious. Anyway, combat needs some animations smoothed out for sure. There's still some, I've got some criticisms that I've mentioned in the past, but otherwise it's still a humongous improvement. Good stuff. Penultimately, we have what was actually my biggest problem with Joey 1 over the length of the game, I would suggest, when you're 500 hours in, and that's the lack of customization. Eventually, we got rocks and a handful of decorations, but our parks all ended up looking pretty similar, and it took some very fanciful path work to differentiate them. In Joey 2, we've got, I love that term by the way, Joey. We've got expanded terrain painting, rotating rocks. I'll say that again because I know it's viscerally exciting. Rotating rocks in 2 ways. And we've got both shop customization as well as an expanded suite of decorations. The hitboxes are still a little bit big as far as I'm concerned, and I do think we need more decorations, although I'm wondering if some have been held back from us. But either way, it's a huge step forward and should make building sandbox parks much more exciting in the long term. Do you want to create a neon pink park filled with flowers? Now you can, you crazy cat, live your dreams. Finally then, we have an entire new blim-blamming campaign mechanic, dinosaur wrangling. The new focus in the Evolution 2 campaign isn't just building park after park, but instead we're taking to North America, hopping into vehicles, and rescuing the dinosaurs from their happy wilderness lives and sticking them in cages. For research. And to stop them killing people or, whatever. We've only seen and played the one campaign mission so far in Washington, but the driving off into the wilderness whilst fake crisp rat quipped in our ears was certainly different than anything in the last campaign from the first game. And I'm as curious as George to see how the mechanic has been kept varied throughout, a longer campaign. It's interesting now, how do they keep that mixed up throughout all the campaign missions? As it is though, the dinosaur wrangling mixes things up whilst remaining thematically on point. And that's really all you can ask for from a new mechanic. Anyway, that's it from me. 10 reasons Evolution 2 is going to be a 5 out of 10 game according to IGN. Got him. I'm approaching the game with a bit more optimistic trepidation this time around, and I do have some concerns as I've recently detailed, but I really could have easily expanded this positives list as well. I mean, raptors climb fences now, the Lophosaurus doesn't look dumb anymore, new dinosaur skin system, no need for herbivore feeders, tours go through aviaries, yada yada yada. We'll have to get our hands on the game to know for sure how much of an improvement it really is. The test is not the first 5 hours, the test is the 50th hour, you know? But it certainly looks promising so far. Let me know in the comments below which of these features you're most excited for, or did I miss your favourite? Let me know that as well, and let me know if you're unsubscribing because of the jokes. It would be good to know. Thanks for joining me. Stick around on the channel for a metric ton of Jurassic 2 content when it comes out 2 weeks tomorrow? Insanity. Much love as always. Bye-bye.
Reaching out.